So, Dr. Gilbert, if you could please activate your microphone and your camera.
Not letting, good morning, Beatrice, assalamu alaikum. It's not letting me start my video because it's saying the host has stopped it. Is that?
So does it look like it's on our end?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we'll try to sort this, just one moment.
Okay. Okay, that should be
sorted now.
working.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, can you see that? Is my screen coming through? Can you see that?
It is actually. Thank you so much.
Okay, good. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Jane Gilbert, and I'm the chair of the International Solid Waste Association's Biological Treatment Working Group. And I'm just really going to tell you a little bit about some work that we've done looking at compost soil and carbon sequestration. So firstly, we talk about organic waste, and that's something that I haven't heard being spoken about this morning. And we know that there's about 1 billion tons of organic waste coming from cities and residential areas, which is equivalent to about 2.8 million tons every day. And this amount is actually increasing year on year. So it's a significant problem. And in many parts of the world, organic waste and waste in general are not managed in an environmentally safe manner. And what it means is they end up in informal dump sites that then result in methane emissions, a very potent greenhouse gas, black carbon if plastics are burnt with it. Of course, there are odours, pathogens and leachate as well being produced. So all in all, the organic waste that society is producing is not being handled very effectively at all, leading to significant climate change issues. I worked with two of my colleagues a few years ago, Marco Ricci Jurgensen from Italy and Aditi Ramola, who is the technical director at ISWA. And we engaged in a project trying to quantify some of the benefits of putting organic matter in compost and anaerobic digestate back onto soils. And it resulted in 4 separate reports, which are all available as PDFs via the ISWA website. And I've put the URL down at the bottom of this presentation, just here. What we know is by putting compost, the black gold, as someone has just said, back onto soil, it acts as an organic soil improver, and it's a source of stable carbon, and it can contribute towards increasing soil organic matter. That's been well shown scientifically. Organic anaerobic digestate from anaerobic digesters is more of an organic fertilizer, so it's helping to recycle those nutrients. But when we're looking at organic matter in soils, of course, this is something that the FAO and the 4,000 have stressed over time, but we end up with all of these different benefits, including lots of ecosystem services, and also a lot of soil fertility. But what we also know as well is that it can increase the soil organic carbon content. And what we did was we took theoretical sequestration rates that have been published in the scientific press, scientific journals, and actually try to quantify that and look, well, do a few what-if scenario analyses. So I'm very briefly going over what are sort of, for quite complex reports. But we know that composting recycles carbon, and we're currently composting 80-odd million tons of organic material a year, but we know from our survey that the potential is well over 1 billion tons every year, and that's increasing as well. If we compost all of that 83 million tons per annum, we can reduce carbon dioxide emissions by up to about 9 million tonnes per annum of carbon dioxide equivalents. And that is both carbon that is stored in the soil and avoided emissions through fertilizer recycling rather than having to produce them chemically. But the potential goes up to almost 1 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalents every year if we were to compost that and produce quality materials. We know that compost feeds the soil as well, and just if we just look at the NPK value in this compost, it's going from about 1 million tonnes per annum to about 12 million tonnes per annum. So significant potential there for recycling these nutrients, which I'm not going to go into now, but big geopolitical issues there, and also big carbon benefits as well. If we look at compost potential, just in terms of the carbon that's stored in soil, we're currently looking at about 5 million tonnes of CO2 equivalents every year, which has the potential to increase that to about 55 million tonnes per annum CO2 equivalents. And of course, avoided emissions as fertilizers as well, in particular, nitrate fertilizers, ammonium fertilizers produced through Haber-Bosch process, currently avoiding emissions of about 4 million tonnes per annum, but potential to increase that to about over 40 million. And here's just a few equivalencies that you can see based on the US EPA's equivalency calculator. Importantly as well, compost from organic waste, I'm talking about high quality composts here, that to increase by 4 per thousand the soil organic matter content based on sort of a lowish sequestration rate, which we'd assumed in the calculations. We'd only need to put on 5.2 tonnes of fresh compost per hectare per year to increase that soil organic carbon stock by 0.4%. And if we scaled that up, showing the previous assumptions to start to deal with the 1 billion tonnes of organic materials every year, the fraction of cropland, global cropland that we could increase by 0.4% per annum, the carbon dioxide stocks would only be about 6% of the total global cropland. So we know that there's huge potential. There's huge potential as well for more than what potentially compost could produce. And we're looking at potentially about 96 million hectares being dealt with that could benefit from that compost. So I've really just tried to whiz through this in a very short space of time. You can contact me here on my email, and ISWA is actually hosting the Waste and Resources Pavilion through the COP in the Blue Zone in Building 88. So please do go and speak to my colleagues there, because I'm sure they'd be very pleased to meet yourselves here. And thank you very much. And I'll hand back to Beatrice now.